What does a Roman emperor writing in his diary by candlelight have in common with a 62-year-old guy sweating under a barbell at Planet Fitness?
Yeah, on the surface, absolutely nothing.
Right. But the answer is a philosophy that might literally keep you out of a nursing home.
It's just a phenomenal clash of worlds.
Right.
Because we tend to isolate philosophy in these, dusty academic boxes.
Oh, for sure.
But the reality is the most ancient ideas are often the most ruthlessly practical tools for navigating modern life.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are exploring an incredibly insightful essay by John C. Harris. He's a 62-year-old author, and this piece comes from his newsletter, Proud Boomer Wellness. It's titled Time is Short, Spend It on What's Real.
It's a great piece.
It really is, and our mission today is to break down two powerful Stoic concepts and explore exactly why these ancient ideas are basically the ultimate blueprint for aging adults who want to maintain their physical and mental independence.
And Harris's perspective is so vital here because of who he is speaking directly to. I mean, he's talking to you, the listener, especially if you're looking down the barrel if you're 50s, 60s, or beyond.
Yeah.
He is actively stripping away the hype, the endless supplements, and that cost-reversal delusion that fuels the modern wellness industry.
Right, the stuff that's everywhere now.
Exactly. He's focusing entirely on what genuinely works when you have enough life experience to, see through the marketing.
So, to understand how we get to the squat rack, we first have to look at how humans naturally perceive time. And Harris starts this essay with a deeply personal story about his mother that just perfectly illustrates this.
Yeah, it's a brilliant observation of human psychology. His mother smoked heavily, like a pack a day or more, until she was 47 years old.
Wow.
Right. And then she simply quit cold turkey. That was her methodology. Once she made a firm decision, the debate was over.
Just done.
Just done. And she went on to live 29 more years without touching a single cigarette, eventually passing away at 76.
And for decades, Harris viewed the act of quitting as the main story. Which, almost 30 years clean is a massive victory.
Absolutely.
But as he entered his own 60s, his perspective on her timeline completely shifted. He realized the most important cigarette in her life wasn't the last one she smoked. It was the first one.
Yeah, because taking that very first drag when you're a teenager or, in your early 20s, it relies on a massive, unspoken assumption.
Right.
It requires the deep-seated illusion of endless time. Like to light that first cigarette, you have to subconsciously tell yourself that the future stretches out to infinity.
We operate under the comfortable belief that there will always be tomorrow to fix our bad habits.
Exactly. Right up until the moment the runway runs out.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this leads directly into the first Stoic concept Harris introduces. The phrase is Memento Mori, which translates from Latin to remember you must die.
Yes.
And I have to push back here. Hearing that phrase, doesn't that just sound inherently morbid?
It really does to a modern ear, yeah.
It paints a picture of, like, a skull sitting on a desk in a dark room. Doesn't fixating on your own death just breed intense anxiety? It sounds like a recipe for doom scrolling about your cholesterol levels at 2 a.m.
That is exactly how most people react. But what's fascinating here is how entirely backward our modern interpretation of that concept is.
Okay.
We view it as a threat, but the Stoics engineered it as an anchor. Look closely at Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He documented this concept relentlessly in his private diary. And remember, this was a journal never intended for publication.
It was just for him.
Right. And he was leading a massive empire through a devastating pandemic, the Antonine Plague. He was fighting brutal frontier wars, and tragically, he buried most of his own children.
The psychological weight of that is almost incomprehensible.
Beyond comprehension. And for him, Memento Mori wasn't about dwelling in sadness. He engaged in the Stoic practice of negative visualization, intentionally picturing the loss of the things he valued, including his own life.
It still sounds really dark, though.
It does. But the mechanism behind it is incredibly practical. Think about it. When you operate with the false certainty of unlimited time, you waste it. You hold on to petty grudges, you agonize over the opinions of strangers, you stress over traffic.
You essentially squander your emotional bandwidth on garbage.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And negative visualization acts as a filter for that garbage. If you force your brain to hold the undeniable objective fact of your own mortality up against a minor daily frustration, the frustration instantly shrinks to its actual microscopic size.
Wow, yeah, it puts it right into perspective.
Right. Memento Mori is a tool to strip away the noise and recalibrate your focus on what actually demands your attention. The clock is real, so act accordingly.
I see the utility in that for sure. But sitting with that awareness alone feels incomplete. Like if I just walk around hyper aware of my impending demise, I might strip away the noise, but I also might just sit on the couch paralyzed by the futility of it all.
Yep. You've identified the exact vulnerability of the philosophy if it's applied in isolation. That paralysis is very real. And it's precisely why Harris introduces the necessary counterweight,
The missing half.
the missing half of the equation, Memento Vivere, which translates to remember to live.
So they act as a binary system.
They have to. One without the other is a cognitive failure.
Right.
If you only internalize Memento Mori, it curdles into fear. It becomes that midnight anxiety you mentioned earlier.
Right.
But, and this is equally dangerous, if you only internalize Memento Vivere without the hard reality check of mortality, it mutates into delusion.
Ah, the delusion of endless time. The lie Harris's mother told herself with that first pack of cigarettes, the idea that the bill never actually comes due.
Exactly. But when you lock them together, they create this powerful clarity. Time is strictly finite, therefore you must fiercely protect how you spend it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Harris takes this balanced philosophical blade and just swings it directly at the modern anti-aging industry.
Oh, he goes right after them.
He points out that this multi-billion-dollar market is essentially selling a toxic manufactured fantasy. It's built entirely on Memento Vivere, remember to live with the death, half deliberately amputated.
Perfectly said.
They sell the cognitive dissonance that if you just buy this specific peptide serum or take this proprietary supplement stack, you can literally outrun your biological ending.
It is a wholesale denial of reality.
Yeah.
And Harris addresses this with such refreshing bluntness. He notes that he is not going to die younger. He is going to die.
Copyright.
Period. And so is the billionaire selling him the longevity serum. The industry essentially exploits our terror of Memento Mori by offering a comfortable, very expensive lie.
It makes me think of an analogy. The wellness industry essentially encourages people to put their entire physical life on a high-interest credit card and then tells them the secret to happiness is to just throw away the monthly statements without opening them.
Oh, that is a phenomenal way to visualize it.
Right, because in the moment, you feel rich, you feel young because you're applying the cream or taking the magic pill, you're swiping the card and actively ignoring the balance. But ignoring the statements doesn't stop the compounding interest.
No, it doesn't. The debt is compounding at a cellular level, whether you acknowledge it or not.
And that biological debt brings us out of the realm of abstract Roman philosophy and crashes us directly into the stark realities of the gym. We transition from Marcus Aurelius's diary to Harris walking into a Planet Fitness at age 62.
Yeah, quite the scene change.
Because Harris is aggressively honest about what that compounding debt feels like in his own body. He notices his shoulder aching a full day before a rainstorm. He requires a significantly longer, more deliberate warm-up before he even touches a heavy weight.
He even admits to checking the obituaries to look for names of his contemporaries.
But the critical distinction is that none of this observation is morbid for him. He isn't wallowing in it.
Right.
The acute awareness of his physical decline is the very catalyst that forces him out of bed and under the barbell.
Which is a massive paradigm shift in his approach to physical health. Because, in his 20s, 30s, and 40s, Harris was a dedicated endurance athlete. He was grinding through marathons and half-Ironman triathlons.
Yeah, he was serious about it.
And he openly admits that during those decades, he conflated suffering with health. He believed that relentlessly grinding his body down over long miles was the ultimate metric of fitness.
Like more pain equals more health.
Exactly. But crossing into his 50s, he had to confront the clinical realities of human aging. The physiological data is brutal. After 50, the element of your physical self that falls off an absolute cliff isn't your cardiovascular capacity, it's your muscle mass.
Wait, I need to push back on that because we've been told for decades by every health authority that cardio is the ultimate key to a long life. Protect the heart, run the miles, and you'll live forever. Are you saying that's wrong?
Well, it's not that cardiovascular health is wrong. Of course not. It's that it addresses the length of your life, not necessarily the quality of your daily existence as you age.
Okay, that makes sense.
The mechanism at play here is a condition called sarcopenia. It's the involuntary loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength. As we age, our bodies literally begin to cannibalize fast-twitch muscle fibers because they are calorically expensive to maintain.
The body just gets rid of them.
Yeah, it's being efficient, but in a bad way. And when that muscle vanishes, it triggers a catastrophic domino effect. Your structural balance deteriorates. Your bone density plummets.
Because the bones aren't receiving the signal to stay strong.
Precisely. Bone is living tissue. It relies on a specific biological mechanism, which is mechanical tension. When heavy muscles pull on the bone during a strenuous lift, it signals cells called osteoblasts to build denser, thicker bone.
So it's literally use it or lose it.
Exactly. If you lose the muscle, you lose the tension. The bone becomes porous. Suddenly, a simple slip on the ice goes from a bruised ego to a shattered hip. The basic fundamental ability to get down on the floor and get back up without assistance just vanishes.
So the entire objective of fitness has to fundamentally change.
It has to pivot entirely. Harris realized that the single most reliable predictor of how the back half of your life functions is not your marathon time. It is whether or not you keep strength in the bank.
Right.
So he abandoned the long runs and started lifting heavy weights. He started late, his form was poor initially, and his ego took a massive beating in that first year.
I was really struck by a phrase he uses to describe this process, grace under load. It completely flips society's script on aging.
It really does.
Because we are constantly sold this pastel-colored vision of aging gracefully, which usually translates to going quietly, fading into the background, keeping soft hands, maintaining a soft body, and eventually just accepting the living room recliner as your inevitable fate. Harris is arguing that true grace requires actively fighting the weight.
It's a brilliant redefinition. True grace, in Harris's framework, isn't found in a polite surrender to time. It is forged in the effort. The phrase grace under load literally describes the physical act of having a heavily loaded barbell across your shoulders, feeling gravity trying to crush you, and maintaining your structural form, keeping your composure, and pushing back against the downward force.
That is such a powerful image.
Right. When society tells you to age gracefully by sitting down and resting, they're essentially telling you to accelerate the decline. Harris refuses. You accept the reality that the decline is happening, but you wage a daily physical war to retain your physical capability.
If we look at that moment in the gym, it really is the perfect practical marriage of those two Stoic concepts.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, loading a barbell is perhaps the ultimate physical manifestation of Stoicism. Every time Harris steps into the squat rack, he is actively practicing both philosophies.
How so?
Well, by acknowledging that he needs to lift weights to fight off frailty, he's admitting that his body is on a strict timeline. He is staring down the reality that physical decay is coming, and that doing nothing has a devastating cost, a cost usually paid in a nursing home bed.
That is Memento Mori.
Exactly, that's Memento Mori.
Ah.
But the physical act of lifting the weight, the grunt, the sweat, the resistance, that is Memento Vivere. He is methodically building the physical capacity that makes his remaining time worth experiencing. He is ensuring he remains strong enough to hoist his own luggage into the overhead bin, strong enough to get down on the rug to play with his dog, and strong enough to be an asset to his loved ones, rather than a liability they have to manage.
And speaking of his dog, Harris uses his Bernedoodle, Gus, to draw a stark contrast about the human condition.
Yeah, that was a great part of the essay.
I loved the observation about Gus, because Gus is a dog, which means he exists in a state of perpetual present tense. He has zero concept of his own mortality. He doesn't know the clock is ticking, which is why he is the most thoroughly relaxed creature in the house.
Gus is unburdened by time. Humans do not have that luxury. We possess the profound cognitive burden of knowing how our story ends. But Harris makes the argument that this awareness shouldn't be viewed as a curse. It is our greatest gift. It is the exact catalyst that makes him shut his laptop, put down his phone, and go for a walk outside.
Yeah.
It's the singular reason he refuses to skip a scheduled workout just because he feels lethargic. Because, as he writes, tired is temporary and the alternative is permanent.
Let that sit for a second. Tired is temporary and the alternative is permanent. That isn't just a motivational bumper sticker. That is a fundamental operating system for the last third of your life.
Absolutely.
And you can see how deeply this philosophy resonates when you look at the community that follows Harris's writing. There is a fierce rejection of the surrender to the recliner mentality in the comments section of his essay.
The reader responses are just a goldmine of practical stoicism. Take a reader named Joanna. She wrote passionately about how much she despises the cultural expectation to just sit and wait for the end.
She was fired up.
She really was. She fully acknowledges that death is inevitable. So she has her memento mori, but she intends to emulate her grandfather's exit.
That story was incredible. He was nearly 90 years old.
Almost 90. And he passed away suddenly while deep in the forest in the middle of a strenuous hike. He maintained his physical sovereignty right up to the final second.
Wow.
He never saw the inside of a nursing home, and he was never a physical burden to his children. He maximized his memento vivere.
And then you contrast that with another commenter, CLB. She's a woman in her early 70s, and she shared a deeply revealing story about a neighbor.
Yes, the neighbor.
This neighbor spends hours obsessively dyeing her hair, applying heavy makeup, and frantically trying to project the image of a younger woman. At one point, the neighbor actually stated out loud, "I hate old people."
Which raises an important question about the psychological cost of denial. CLB points out the profound cognitive dissonance of her neighbor's statement. The neighbor is trapped in that anti-aging delusion we discussed earlier.
She's ignoring the credit card statements.
Exactly. Well, CLB, conversely, operates with total acceptance. She acknowledges the gray hair, she knows her chronological age, and she refuses to squander her remaining emotional energy pretending she is still 45.
Right.
But, and this is where the power lies, she fully adopts the title of Harris's book as her personal mantra. Not done yet.
Not done yet. It perfectly threads the needle between acceptance and defiance.
It is the ultimate synthesis. It is the graceful acceptance of your mortality. The Mori, combined with the fierce, muscular realization that aging does not demand the surrender of your vitality, the vivere.
Beautifully put.
And this brings the entire essay full circle, right back to Harris's mother.
Yeah.
She earned 29 high-quality years after she extinguished that final cigarette. That is nearly 3 decades of lived experience she would have forfeited otherwise.
Yeah, that's a whole second lifetime.
Right. Harris reflects that the mechanics of her quitting weren't the miracle. The miracle was the cognitive shift that preceded it.
She made a concrete decision that the time she had remaining was valuable enough to aggressively protect.
Yes. And that is the absolute core message for you, the listener. That exact decision, the choice to fiercely protect your remaining time and ensure your physical vessel is strong enough to enjoy it, is available to you right now, regardless of your chronological age.
It doesn't matter when you start.
No, it has very little to do with the total number of days left on your calendar, and it has absolutely everything to do with the quality of the demands you place on yourself today.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've unpacked today, aging well is not about buying into the sterile, heavily marketed fantasy of denying your own mortality. It's not found in expensive serums, and it's certainly not found in the living room recliner.
No, it's not.
It is about staring your mortality straight in the eye, acknowledging that the clock is relentlessly ticking down, and deciding to spend your remaining hours building the literal physical strength required to truly live. As Harris so perfectly distills it, remember, you must die. Then go do something a dying person would be glad they did.
It elevates ancient philosophy from academic theory into a sweaty daily practice. It redefines the gym as a philosophical training ground.
It completely reframes why we choose to do the hard, uncomfortable things, why we endure the heavy squats, why we walk the steep hills, why we fight the physical decline.
Exactly.
And as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to carry with you. We started this conversation by contrasting a Stoic emperor with a guy lifting weights at Planet Fitness. Let's bring that concept right into your living room.
Okay.
What if you stopped viewing your physical independence, your ability to walk upstairs, carry your groceries, or get up off the floor as a permanent, guaranteed human right?
Oh, that's a big shift.
Right. What if instead you treated your physical independence as a subscription service?
Wow.
Imagine it's a subscription that does not auto-renew. It requires you to actively pay the fee every single day through your physical choices, your effort, and, your willingness to endure a little discomfort under a barbell.
I love that.
If your independent subscription was up for renewal today, what specific physical action would you take right now to pay the fee?
That is the question.
Think about that the next time you consider skipping a workout. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into John C. Harris's profound essay. We hope it gave you both the philosophical clarity and the practical blueprint to build some serious strength for the road ahead. Until next time.